Welcome, third and fourth graders. I'm going to read the first half of chapter 4 in our book 20 and 10. I'll stop mid-chapter, but you should be able to go on to the next video to finish it if you are just dying to know what happens next. All right? This is called The Real Thing. The third day after the arrival of the new children, we were all friends and did not think any more who was what, when suddenly at lunchtime we almost had a quarrel. The new children insisted on giving us back some of their share of food, and we wanted to give them something from our own plates. Sister Gabriel said, "Boys and girls, all plates are alike, and you should eat just what is in front of you. That's all." When we went out, Philip said, "I don't like it. We have to do something about this." Henry said, "Let's have a meeting." So we all gathered together. Philip explained, "My point is this. I like to eat fairly well once in a while. Philip is very tall and large, and I like my buddies to eat fairly well once in a while too, so I suggest we take turns, one person at each meal passing his plate all around the table, and the rest of us sharing a little off of our own plates. That will make quite a meal, and by, everyone in turn will come to have almost his fill for once. How is that?" "Grand," said Arthur. "Only do you think that Sister Gabriel will let us do that? She didn't seem to approve of anything this noon except eating just what had been placed before us." "Oh," said I, "you don't know Sister Gabriel yet. She understands everything. We have but to explain. Here she is. Let's ask her." But we never had a chance because Sister Gabriel spoke first. "Boys and girls," she said, "I have to go down to the village. Dulafet is the name, which means God made it. I can't help it. It is the name. I haven't called at the post office for 2 weeks. There may be letters and even some food packages for some of you in which we can all share. We need that extra very badly, so I have to go. Now listen, I won't be long. It is a 3-mile walk. That makes 6 miles both ways. Of course, it will take a little longer coming up again, but I should make it in about 3 hours and a half. It is 1:30 now. I should be back around 5 before it gets really dark. Can you stay here all by yourselves and behave as you did the other times?" We said yes right away. We, that is, all but the new children, were used to that arrangement. About every fortnight, a fortnight means every 2 weeks, Sister Gabriel went to Dulafet to get the mail and packages. We always managed nicely all by ourselves while she was gone. That's what happens when there is what grown-ups call an emergency. Then people, especially children, can do things they never would have done before. Sister Gabriel knew that she could trust us. But George, looking very worried, spoke up. "Sister, what about Herod's soldiers, the Nazis?" A shadow crossed Sister Gabriel's face. "That is in the hand of God," she said. "However, don't worry about it. If I go now, it is precisely because I have heard, grapevine fashion, that the Nazis have all left the neighborhood and are very busy hunting for people on the other side of the Rhone River, 50 miles from here. Otherwise, I would not go, and I won't be long. So now be good. There are 30 slices of bread cut in the kitchen and 30 apples." "Apples!" we shrieked. "Yes, it's a surprise. You can have a picnic." After she was gone, we did not do anything for quite a long time. We watched the white wings of her headdress getting smaller and smaller on the road while the large empty basket she carried kept swinging in the crook of her arm. When she had disappeared, Philip said, "What about having that picnic right now and getting it over with?" We all liked the idea. In those days, we had so little to eat that we were ready to start all over again right after a meal. So we went into the kitchen and we brought out the bread and the apples and we ate it all. I say we, the 30 of us. If I don't speak about everyone, it is only because it would take too much time. Also, it happened that some of us had more ideas than others, and they are the ones I remember best. But the 30 of us were in it right straight through all together. We could not have done it any other way. After we were through the picnic, George said, "What about playing at the flight into Egypt again? Arthur could be Joseph." Well, I suppose George was rather fed up with being Joseph, especially because of what had taken place the last time. Only his offering Arthur the part made it impossible for me to be Mary again. That is, I too had to offer to give up my part. That made me mad, not only because I liked to be Mary, but because if I were to give up my part, I wanted to do so all by myself and not be pushed into it, so to speak, by somebody else. So I said casually, "No, George, you make an excellent Joseph." I felt ashamed because George looked so pleased. George is really nice, though he is stubborn. But, I went on, I don't have to be Mary. Suzanne could be. Suzanne was one of the new little girls. She always seemed scared and unhappy. I had been looking after her a bit, and I did think that playing a part might cheer her up, only I didn't know if she would like it or not. "What about it, Suzanne?" I asked, putting my arm around her. At once Suzanne brightened up and said eagerly, "I know how to be Mary. I was Mary back home at the library, Lou Joyeux in Paris." These names I don't know how to say. So I look at it and I say it confidently. And sometimes I look up the names, how to pronounce them. But if you're reading something, just read it confidently and keep going, and nobody's going to question you. "Splendid," said George at once. He did not speak any more of giving up his part. "Suzanne has dark hair, and though I was sorry not to be Mary again, yet I was the only one who had given up a part, which was what I wanted." Everybody was pleased. George came forward and took Suzanne by the hand. He seemed all excited, not at all as he had been when I was Mary, and he announced that we Egyptians were to gather at the bottom of the garden slope, because the Holy Family would start the journey from Galilee at the top of the slope and go way down in Egypt land. Suzanne asked, "What about the donkey?" "She is right," said Henry. "We never thought of it before. What about it, Philip?" Philip is much bigger than any of us. He is from Normandy, and their people are large and blonde, and they shave as Americans do. Of course, Philip did not shave, not yet. "Fine," he said with his usual bright smile. He bent his back, and Suzanne climbed on his shoulders. Then I put Louis, the little one, in George's arms. I mean Joseph's, because I thought Philip had enough to carry for the time being. I said to Mary, "You can always take Jesus in your arms when you rest on the road." Then all of us Egyptians ran down to the bottom of the slope. We could see the Holy Family up there, and right away we were delighted with Suzanne's acting. She turned her head partly around, she shaded her eyes with her hand, and looked far down the valley behind her. "Good," said Henry. "She's looking for Herod's soldiers." They're coming, shrieked Suzanne. "She is good," approved Henry placidly. Placidly means very calmly. We all called, "Quick, come down into Egypt, quick!" While we were still waving, we saw Suzanne slip off Philip's back and run toward us at top speed. She tumbled into the midst of us, shaking from head to foot. They're coming, she yelled. And suddenly Philip and George were also among us, panting. They're coming, the Nazis are coming." "What?" we shrieked, and we all raced up the slope and looked, the smaller ones taking turns on Philip's back. Far, far down on the valley rode two green spots with helmets moving toward us on bicycles. We looked at one another, terrified. Then I don't know how, but Henry, Arthur, Denise, and we all said at once, "The cave!" And we ran toward the back of the house. The others followed us. Henry said to all of us, "No time for explanations. The four of us here know about a cave. Arthur, do you think you can find it again all by yourself?" "Yes," said Arthur quietly and firmly. "All right," said Henry. "Then you, the Jewish boys and girls, go with Arthur and hide in the cave and stay there and do everything Arthur tells you to do. And wait." He ran inside the house and came back with an empty pitcher and gave it to Arthur. "Take this and fill it with water at the stream for drinking. Nobody knows how long you will all have to stay hidden." Arthur said briefly, "Thanks. No matter what happens, we won't budge from the cave until one of you comes to give us the all-clear signal. Let's go." The Jewish children moved right along. They did not make any fuss. They did not ask questions. They were used to danger. It took less time for them to disappear than it takes to tell. When they were gone, Henry spoke up. "Now listen, all of you. The hunt is on. Within half an hour, the Nazis will be here. They are going to ask questions. We cannot betray. If we do, the Jewish boys and girls will be taken away, and we know the rest. So I suggest we play dumb. We just don't answer. Not a thing. Not even good day. Do you understand? We don't speak. Not one word. Not one word." That's what playing dumb is just not speaking. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your head. We all said, "That's right. We don't speak. Not one word. Not one word." Then we went back to the front part of the yard. There was no use climbing on Philip's shoulders anymore. The Nazis were plainly in sight. Henry looked more upset than I had ever seen him before. I wish Sister Gabriel were here, he kept saying to me. I ran inside the house, looked at the clock, and came back. It's nearly 5 o'clock now, I said. She cannot be long. She should be here any minute. Henry shook his head. If she were, he answered, we could already see her on the road. It looks bad. Let's play, I suggested. What? asked Henry gloomily. Leapfrog, I said. It was Henry's favorite game outside of make-believe. All right, come on, all of you, called Henry. We're going to play leapfrog, all of us. And so it was that when the two Nazi soldiers came into the yard, pushing their bicycles in front of them up the slope, we were leaping over one another at an ever-increasing speed in an unending line. Good day, children, said the soldiers in perfect French. We all stopped playing, but did not answer. We just looked at them. Good day. Can't you answer? Silence. Are you mute and deaf? Silence. My, it was a hard climb, said one of the soldiers. Am I thirsty? Any water around here, children? No answer. Come on, you pretty little girl. Won't you show a soldier where to get a drink? And one of the soldiers extended his hand toward Denise and caressed her cheek. Abruptly, Denise sat down on the ground. We all laughed. That was a big mistake because it made the soldiers mad. All right, the one who looked rather young said sharply. We will take care of you all later. Come on, he said to the other soldier. We don't need them. We can search the house alone. In they went, and we all sat down on the grass. There was nothing else to do. We heard them going all over the house. We knew they could not find anything because the Jewish children had only the clothes they wore on their backs. And as far as beds were concerned, we shared them also, and the 2 blankets each one of us had. Philip bent his head near the ground and whispered, It's lucky we ate the 30 pieces of bread and the apples right away. It certainly was, or else the Nazis would have known for sure that 10 of us were hiding somewhere. Presently, the soldiers came back and they made a sign for us to go inside. We did, and they waited until we were all seated. Then the young one who seemed to be in command said, Children, we don't want to be mean to you, but you have to answer us. Don't you have other children with you? Just say yes or no. Dead silence. And I'm going to stop there for today. And feel free, because I'm going to record the other portion now also, and so it will be up in the lesson plans too. So feel free to listen to this one and then move on and listen to that one. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.